Coming right up, Straight Talk with Art Levine. Our guest tonight, Aaron Beam, co-founder and former CFO of HealthSouth, as we continue our 22nd anniversary year.
Straight Talk is brought to you in part by the Port of Long Beach, a leader in international trade and environmental stewardship, and the Press Telegram, your local news leader for over 100 years.
Join us for tonight's edition of Straight Talk. And now your host, Art Levine.
Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk. We're delighted you're joining us tonight. Our guest for the entire show is Aaron Beam, co-founder and former CFO of HealthSouth. Aaron, welcome to our show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Let me cut to the chase, and we've done over 500 shows over 22 years. Aaron is the first convicted felon we have had on the show, and it's a fascinating story. Aaron is also the author of a book, HealthSouth, The Wagon to Disaster, that chronicles his fascinating story. And Aaron, so you were the co-founder of this company and former CFO of HealthSouth. That was a Fortune 500 company.
Exactly. In 1984, Richard Scrushy and I formed the company with venture capital, and within 2 years took it public, and we all made a lot of money. It was a giant success story.
And you were in the business of rehabilitation centers?
Yes, back in the 80s, believe it or not, long before Obamacare, the cost of health care was a big concern. So Richard's concept, he was really pretty much a visionary. He felt like if you could take things out of the hospital and do them on an outpatient basis, like outpatient surgery, outpatient rehabilitation, that would be a way to lower healthcare costs. So our timing was very good because technology has changed. The surgery could be done outpatient by that time, and with the pressure to lower healthcare costs, our timing was very good.
And so the business model made sense. It was less expensive to do it there, and patients prefer not to be in a hospital.
Exactly. They don't want to go back into a building full of sick people and all the complicated parking and everything.
Sure.
So
the business model made sense. The timing was good. You went public. The stock did well. What happened?
It really is just one of those things. It's a little bit like the athlete that signs the big $1 million contract. I think we all kind of let the money become too important. The pressures of Wall Street are very tremendous. When you're a public company, you are measured by, does the stock go up? So there's tremendous pressure every quarter to deliver good numbers.
Good earnings.
Good earnings.
Because it's earnings, growth in earnings per share that Wall Street loves.
Exactly.
That curve keeps going up, and they want to see it.
Exactly, and Richard in particular had gotten to where he was worth about $600 million from his stock options and everything, and I was worth several $1 million. And we understood that our wealth was tied to the stock market, and we were in a healthcare bubble, stock market bubble, and we started. In the beginning, we just started doing some not so good accounting. We started changing estimates, things that weren't really fraudulent.
Let me interrupt and Richard makes this point in his book, and you are a CPA. You were trained as an accountant, you're a CPA, and even though you come up with a hard number of earnings per share of $6.32 for a quarter, what a lot of people don't realize is that is a function of a lot of estimates, and reasonable people can differ on just what those estimates are. So perfectly legally and ethically, there's a zone of reasonableness to make estimates.
That's right, but that kind of gray area can really be abused to the point that you cross a line at some point where you're just making up numbers. And we did that in 1996 after being a public company and for 10 years and never missing earnings. We had missed them so badly that we just literally decided we had to create some numbers.
So in real life, the earnings weren't there.
They weren't there.
And you manufactured the earnings. I remember when we first met at a breakfast that the Chamber sponsored last year, or earlier this year actually, and someone asked from the audience a question, bottom line, what did you do wrong? And you said, quote, I cooked the books.
Yeah, there's no way to sugarcoat it. I mean, that's what I did. And
was there one moment where you realized you had passed over the line from stretching estimates that are at least supportable to just manufacturing numbers?
The second quarter of 1996, in the summer, the quarter that ended in June, we went into Richard's office, my chief accountant and I, and we told Richard we had to report a bad quarter. You just couldn't play with the numbers anymore.
The real life had gone so bad that you couldn't hide it anymore within the zone of reasonableness.
And he literally screamed at us and said, no. He said, we're not going to do that. And he said, you guys are smart guys. You figured out how to fix the numbers before. I want you to fix these numbers. This is not an option. And unfortunately, my chief accountant had worked for our auditors. He knew what the auditors would look at and not look at. He said, I can make entries so they won't examine them and I can get the numbers to where they need to be. But he very clearly said, I'll be creating numbers we didn't create. I'll be cooking the books. And Richard understood that.
Well, Richard told him to do that.
He did.
And told you to do it.
Yeah, and I was weak. I did not stand up to Richard. I should have, but I didn't. And as a result, I paid dearly for it.
Now, at that moment in time, you were worth several $1 million of HealthSouth stock.
Exactly.
So you were not a poor person at that point.
No. I was not super rich, but I was a millionaire several times over.
And compared to the average American, they would consider you quite wealthy.
Oh yeah, I'm one of those 1 percenters.
And you're a CPA.
I am.
A trained professional.
Right.
Just share with everybody the mental rationalization that allowed you to do that.
I have thought about that a lot since I got out of prison, and I've been speaking to students, and I've read a lot. There's a book written by Dan Iarly, a professor at Duke University, and the book is called The Truth About Dishonesty. How we lie to ourselves.
Yes,
even.
we rationalize.
We rationalize, and you know, I remember about the third time I gave my speech, somebody asked me at the end of the speech, "Didn't you think about what was going to happen?" And I stood there kind of like a dummy, and I thought for a while, and I said, "No, when we first did it, I didn't think ahead to the consequences." People that do these kinds of things don't let themselves think about that. They make a list of things, of rationalizations of why they should do it. We'll only do it once. We won't get caught. Nobody will get hurt. Everybody does it. And you let yourself commit the crime.
I'll share with you one rationalization I heard. I worked on Wall Street for 5 years for 2 major investment banking firms, not in the stock brokerage field, but in investment banking. But I spoke to the brokers, and when one was selling a particularly unattractive stock to clients, I said, well, how can you do that? He said, well, if I don't do it, someone else will.
Exactly.
And that was his rationalization.
Yeah. So that's how we really do it, and it's very common in human nature to rationalize. People every day rationalize lying. If your wife asked you, do I look fat in this dress? What are you going to say? So, I mean, that's kind of silly, but it's human nature to rationalize your bad behavior because, as Dr. Iarly says, you want to look in the mirror and say, I'm a good person. Yeah. And so you justify the things you're doing wrong by rationalizing ever how you can.
Amen. And on that point, we'll pick up in the next segment. Stay with us.
At the Port of Long Beach, we're not only delivering jobs, smart ideas, and forward-thinking environmental initiatives, we're also delivering opportunity for all of Southern California. Oh, and a clearer horizon line. To learn more, go to POLB.com. The Port of Long Beach. Thinking outside the docks.
Hello, I'm Jessica Hardy, a proud Long Beach native and a member of the USA Swimming national team. Having spent much of my life in water, I've developed a deep appreciation for the valuable role that this precious resource plays in our lives. In recent years, California's water supply has become unreliable. To address this reality, Long Beach residents have dramatically reduced their water use through permanent lifestyle changes. In doing so, Long Beach has made itself a leader in water conservation. As I work hard to achieve my personal goal of qualifying for the 2012 Summer Olympics, I encourage you to continue your tremendous efforts to use water in smart and responsible ways. So join me and your fellow Long Beach residents in strengthening the water conservation movement. By making small but significant changes in our water use habits, together we can ensure that we have a reliable water supply for many generations to come.
At Performance Plus Tire, you'll find we carry Toyo tires. For over 50 years, Toyo has been a world leader in the development of high-quality tires. Optimum performance, safety, and a comfortable ride. That's what makes Toyo tires great. And now come into Performance Plus Tire for a great deal on these Toyo tires. Proxys ST, Open Country AT, and Proxys 4. Toyo tires, driven to perform. Come in today and we'll install new Toyo tires on your vehicle while you wait. Performance Plus Tire on Cherry Avenue, 1 mile north of the 405 in Long Beach.